Who is a level actually for? And does it really make sense to criticize one if you fundamentally don't like its core idea? Following my last video on the creative intent behind a Dark Dimension, the reviewer I was responding to replied, providing more context on our disagreement. Here's why I still think their critique misses the mark. The thesis of my last video was that criticism which boils down to "I don't like the idea behind this level" is essentially useless. Nothing is scary in his response video, and a few people in the comments contend that it is valid to critique based on personal preferences, citing a concept called death of the author to argue that what really matters when evaluating a level is how it makes the audience feel. This is a valid point to an extent. The only way to form an opinion of a level is to ask yourself, does this level give me a positive subjective experience? The problem arises when you take your personal subjective experience a little too seriously and treat it as if it were the universal experience with the level. Just because a level concept doesn't appeal to you does not mean that it appeals to no one. When someone outside of a level's target audience doesn't know or doesn't value the creator's intent, their critique is often unhelpful, an expression of personal taste rather than actionable guidance for the level creator. If you don't like Dark Dimension, this video isn't likely to change your opinion, nor is it meant to. I wouldn't have had a problem with Nothing is Scary's review if you were simply stating, this level doesn't do anything for me. I'm just not personally a fan of the idea behind it. But he takes his dislike of Dark Dimension too far. To refer to someone else's passion project as slop is over the line, and to call it a failure from the moment of its conception because its concept doesn't appeal to one person in particular is just wrong. You don't have to like Dark Dimension, but dismissing it outright ignores the fact that it does work for the audience it was made for. Nothing is Scary argues that I missed the point of his review, and made two clarifications in his response. First, he doesn't misunderstand what Dark Dimension was meant to be, it's just that the criteria of his reviews don't put much stock into what a level was meant to be. Second, he's not saying that Dark Dimension misses the point of Black Blizzard, he's saying that it's a worse experience than Black Blizzard and therefore fails as a remake. Having heard these clarifications, I don't think my last video misses the point. The central argument still completely applies. Nothing is Scary has its own non-negotiable standards and expectations for level remakes. Those expectations don't align with the goals of Dark Dimension, and his attitude is reflected in the community at large. Not every remake is made to usurp the throne of the original and be better in every way. If you choose to compare them to the original anyway because your review framework doesn't place much value on creator intent, then that's where we fundamentally disagree. I get a lot of people telling me that constructive criticism isn't the point, that if they don't like what a level is trying to be, why should their critique engage with what that level is trying to be? Here's what I think. It's fine to say that a concept just doesn't work for you. There are certainly levels out there that I fundamentally don't like the idea of, but when statements of personal preference cross into discouraging the creation of a project outright, that's a problem. No one person or group of people should get to decide what levels are worth making. However much a person might wish a certain level was never made, there are people who are glad it exists. It's far healthier for the creating community if we just accept that creators are going to create levels that we don't like. So, how good is Dark Dimension in my eyes? In terms of the first objective, it's just okay. Nothing is Scary says they buffed it in really lame ways. I'm not sure that I agree this is Vortrox buff Blizzard, but I'm grateful that he's finally giving critique that aligns with one of the level's actual objectives. I have no feelings on the buff gameplay. 5 out of 10. Not great, not terrible. In terms of updating the deco, he does admit that it's a technical improvement on Black Blizzard, but says that it's all hollow and just there to look pretty. I agree on some parts and strongly disagree on others. I'll give the deco a 7 out of 10 overall. What I can't sympathize with at all is his view of the expanded storm theming. He's hung up on the fact that it breaks Black Blizzard's progression, and it seems he always will be. I think the decision really paid off in terms of impact. 8 points. Overall, Dark Dimension gets a hair under 7 out of 10 from me. If I evaluated Black Blizzard the same way, it would certainly score higher, and in Nothing is Scary's book, that makes Dark Dimension a failure, which is where our evaluation philosophies are inherently going to butt heads. I say that a remake doesn't have to be a masterpiece to have creative value. People are allowed to rework famous levels without the goal of their projects being to create an experience just as good as, if not better than, its inspiration. The fact that a remake's concept isn't as ambitious as certain individuals would like it to be does not justify dismissive or hostile reactions to that remake. This is the part where I tell you not to send hate to or harass the content creator mentioned in this video. And yeah, don't do that. I'm no closer to agreeing with Nothing is Scary's opinion of Dark Dimension or philosophy on level evaluation in general than I was 2 weeks ago, but I'm still a subscriber of his and look forward to the next interesting take he has on Geometry Dash. Thanks for watching.